Well, hello there, and welcome to this wonderful conversation where we're going to enlighten you on a topic that a lot of us are often very scared to talk about. Whilst we know that we all live and want to be forever young, but the reality is that, like with all things, time is a reality we can't run away from. And that certainly speaks to something that we have to take into consideration: retirement. But what does it mean to retire, and how are we doing it differently in this particular day and age when the truth is it's not a dreary subject that we should be afraid of, but one that we should embracing because it does offer us the opportunity to actually expand and evolve and recreate the lives that we want to live. And today on our Liberty Blue Table sessions, I'm excited to be speaking to someone who is in her golden years. She is a retiree by age, but looks nothing like it, especially given some of the experiences that she's been through. Jacki Berger, welcome. I'm super excited to speak to you this today and really get some details about what's your take on retirement. And maybe I'll throw in the question there because you're in your 60s, in your golden years, you've got gray hair, but you're living your life in such a golden and glorious manner. I'm quite keen to understand what retirement actually means to you and what your take on it is.
Hi, Gugu, and thank you for the opportunity. You know what? I think it's possibly my life philosophy that's been my best companion so far, and that's really to kind of the wellness of making your life according to your value system. And a few years ago, I did a Salon 58 soiree, which was all about the cycles of life. And there was this jewel of wisdom, which basically alludes to the fact that every new cycle of your life affords you a different opportunity. So in terms of retirement, I've never really given it any thought. And I think maybe from a semantics point of view, I think there's quite often a negative connotation because, especially my generation. So I think taken into consideration my generation and especially working women that, you know, for me it was never it was a no-brainer. My career was something that I wanted to invest it in. So I think that's where it started, and that is something that gives me my energy for life, is to be purposeful in whichever situation I find myself. So I think to conclude, because I can carry on for a long time, is I do not see myself as a stereotypical retiree.
That's quite refreshing to hear. And having looked at your post on Instagram earlier, it really does speak to the fact that you are consciously living your life and taking key decisions to start new adventures. So if you're not going to be like the average Oma sitting on a rocking chair with her knitting needles, what's in your retirement plan, and what's this new adventure that you'll be working on in your retirement years?
It's really to embark on something new. And I always believe in when you start something new, it's a very good time to edit your life and it's almost to look at what has served you well and what are the aspects of life that you still wish to explore and renew. So it's always been about a value system and a outlook in life. Which, as I said in my post, has elicited a lot of criticism over the years. But I think I've always been a very self-sufficient person. So at the moment, Gugu, I can't answer that question. But I know that in my sort of move is a lot of opportunity, and that's how I view life. But at the same time is to also be very realistic that as we get older, our income opportunities will diminish because of just kind of the market as it is. But that doesn't mean that you have to compromise.
It's really interesting, and I think it's something that people can relate to, because what you're often describing is also your sense of character, which is out of the box. And speaking of being out of the box, it also tells us that you have a very different, I guess, retirement personality in comparison to some of the examples that Liberty's actually shared and brought about. So how would you describe or characterize the kind of retirement planning personality that you've adopted?
It's once again very difficult to. I think I'm too much of a rebel in terms of how I see myself. to kind of personify or to put a specific profile to who I am, and I think that's where what comes into play. And I think I represent, without being arrogant, quite a bigger portion of audience out there. And I'm talking about even where it's not about age, you know, and I think in this era of inclusivity and that's why I love the whole premise of Liberty Life, because it's the freedom to live your life, but with the sobriety of actually making sure that the fears and the insecurities won't creep up and catch you one day when you don't expect to be handicapped by not having some form of sustainable support.
There. Sheila Anne, as Jacki's mentioned, this is the perfect opportunity to rope you into this conversation, not only because we're all matching in red lipstick, which might mean that we ourselves are rebels, but as Jacki's also mentioned, rebels can also have phenomenal retirement plans, even though it doesn't fit the structure or boxes that we're so used to. So share with us, what are your learnings in terms of how Jacki has approached her retirement planning and how she actually plans to live within her state of retirement?
Yeah, well, Gugu, just true to form, Jacki is indeed a rebel, and she doesn't necessarily fit one box, but possibly a combination of two or three. In her Instagram post, she coined the phrase "the conscious ager," which I think defines quite nicely a hybrid of, let's say, for instance, the ageless adventurer or the actualizing adult that she is. And for someone like Jacki, and especially in the world that we live in today, it's so prominent that people require something a lot more flexible and accessible, where they can really create a retirement plan or the new cycle of their life that suits them from a financial planning point of view. And I think also just from a philosophy point of view, if someone like Jacki or people that are retiring in her shoes find a financial advisor that sort of resonates with that philosophy as well, they can provide solutions that are also outside of the box. Because just at a whim's notice, Jacki might want to do something that requires certain resources. So being able to provide product solutions and advice that will speak to that from a financial planning point of view, as well as an estate planning point of view and a risk cover point of view, will be something that will suit her more than just your standard retirement annuities or certain investment plans. It really has to be dynamic, because as Jacki Burger is, and her peers, they need someone that is dynamic, and they need products and solutions and advice that's dynamic.
Well, Jacki, we've learned so much from you, and we want to thank you for sharing your story with us with so much confidence, and also reminding us that being a rebel is not always such a bad thing, that there is creativity into the madness, and that the madness can meet the minds of financial planners and those who use calculations to help us navigate this landscape. Thank you so much for sharing your retirement story. We look forward to hearing more from many of you and understanding how we can also reestablish our lives and goals in terms of retirement planning.